In a haunted mansion's heart, Gengar stumbles upon a mirror with a dark secret. It brings reflections to life. Suddenly, a mischievous shadow Gengar leaps from the glass, unleashing chaos in the sleepy town. Now, the race is on, original versus duplicate, in a wild, shadow-filled adventure. Can Gengar outsmart its own cunning double before the town succumbs to the chaos? Join the chase in Gengar's Double Trouble, the Mirror's Secret, where every reflection hides a thrilling tale, and every shadow could be another trick. Chapter 1: The Forgotten Mansion. On the edge of a quaint town where the houses faded into sprawling fields and the wild woods whispered secrets, there stood an old mansion, shrouded in ivy and legend. It was a relic of a bygone era, its once grand facade now weathered by time and neglect. This mansion, with its aura of mystery, had long been the subject of town lore, and it was here that our story began with an adventurous Gengar and its cautious companion, Clefairy. The autumn sun cast a golden glow over the mansion, illuminating the path as Gengar and Clefairy ventured through the rusty gates. The air was still, save for the crunch of leaves underfoot and the distant caw of a mercrow. The mansion, with its broken windows and creaking doors, stood like a silent guardian of forgotten tales. As they stepped inside, a sense of history enveloped them. Dust motes danced in beams of light that pierced through the boarded-up windows, and the echo of their footsteps filled the cavernous halls. The walls were lined with portraits of stern-faced individuals, their eyes seeming to follow Gengar and Clefairy as they explored. The mansion was a labyrinth of rooms, each telling a story of decadence and decay. Velvet drapes, now moth-eaten, hung from windows, and chandeliers coated in cobwebs dangled from the ceilings. Amid the relics of the past, Gengar's curiosity grew. It playfully darted from room to room, its eyes wide with excitement, while Clefairy lingered cautiously behind, its eyes darting nervously to the shadows. Their exploration led them to a secluded room, hidden behind a heavy oak door that groaned as Gengar pushed it open. This room, untouched by time, was different. It was smaller, more intimate, and at its center stood a grand mirror. The mirror, framed in ornate silver with intricate designs, looked otherworldly. Its surface was unblemished, reflecting the room with an eerie clarity. Gengar, drawn to the mirror, approached it with an innocent curiosity. Clefairy, however, hung back, a sense of unease growing within it. "Be careful, Gengar," Clefairy warned, its voice barely above a whisper. "There's something strange about that mirror." But Gengar, entranced, barely heard. It touched the mirror's surface, which rippled like water under its touch. And then, with a flash of silver light, something extraordinary happened. Gengar's reflection twisted, and from the mirror stepped a shadowy figure, a doppelganger of Gengar itself. The two Gengars stared at each other for a moment, one with a look of surprise, the other with a mischievous glint in its eye. Then, with a cackle, the shadow Gengar dashed out of the room, disappearing into the mansion's depths. Gengar and Clefairy, realizing what they had unleashed, hurried after it. The mansion, once silent, now echoed with the sounds of their pursuit. As they chased the shadow through the corridors, the last rays of the sun disappeared, and the mansion fell into darkness, the adventure just beginning. Chapter 2: Mischief Unleashed. The chase led Gengar and Clefairy through the twisting hallways of the mansion, each turn revealing more of the house's forgotten grandeur and decay. The shadow Gengar was quick and elusive, always just out of reach, its laughter echoing mockingly through the empty rooms. As they raced after the shadow, Gengar couldn't help but feel responsible for the chaos it had unleashed. Clefairy, panting and slightly flustered, voiced its concerns. "We need to catch it, Gengar, before it gets out of the mansion." Gengar nodded in agreement, its usual playful demeanor replaced by a sense of urgency. The pursuit soon spilled out from the mansion into the tranquil town as the sun set, painting the sky in hues of deep purple and red. The town, usually quiet at this hour, was unaware of the mischievous presence that had just entered its midst. At first, the shadow Gengar's antics were harmless. It playfully spooked a Pidgey, causing it to squawk in surprise, and stole an apple from a vendor's stall, leaving the seller looking around in confusion. However, as the night grew darker, its pranks became bolder. In the town square, a group of Pokemon trainers were gathered, their Pokemon playing and resting after a day of training. The shadow Gengar, reveling in the attention, began to cause minor disruptions, snatching a hat here, knocking over a water bottle there. The trainers and Pokemon looked around in bewilderment, trying to find the source of the mischief. Gengar and Clefairy arrived just in time to see the shadow Gengar darting away from the confused crowd, heading towards the more populated parts of the town. "We have to be quick, Clefairy," Gengar said, "or it'll cause too much trouble." The chase continued through the town, with the shadow Gengar always one step ahead, its mischievous laughter a constant reminder of its presence. The townsfolk, initially amused by the odd occurrences, soon began to feel uneasy as the pranks escalated. In the local bakery, the shadow Gengar created a whirlwind of chaos, sending pastries flying and the baker chasing after what he believed to be a gust of wind. At the town's small Pokemon Center, it playfully tampered with the lights, causing flickers that left Nurse Joy puzzled and concerned. As the night deepened, Gengar's determination to catch its double intensified. It knew that the longer the shadow remained free, the more chaos it would cause, and the more the town would descend into confusion and disorder. The chapter concludes with Gengar and Clefairy planning their next move, knowing they needed a strategy to outsmart the shadow Gengar. They had to think like it, predict its moves, and find a way to return it to the mirror before the town was turned completely upside down. The weight of their responsibility hung heavily in the air as they set off into the night, the moon high above casting long shadows on the streets of the peaceful town. Chapter 3. The Chase Intensifies. Under the silver glow of the moon, the once tranquil town had transformed into a stage for the shadow Gengar's whimsical yet chaotic escapades. Gengar and Clefairy, though fatigued by the chase, were determined to capture the mischievous doppelganger. The pair strategized, leveraging their knowledge of the town and Gengar's unique abilities to devise a plan. Their pursuit led them to the town's park, a sprawling expanse of greenery dotted with ancient trees and quaint benches. The shadow Gengar, thriving on the thrill of the chase, had taken to the treetops, leaping from branch to branch with ghostly agility, its laughter echoing through the leaves. Clefairy, using its charming demeanor, gathered a group of local Pokemon, Jigglypuff, Staryu, and a few playful Squirtle, to assist in their mission. With their help, they orchestrated a playful ambush. The Jigglypuff prepared to use their sing to create a lullaby that would soothe the shadow Gengar, while the Squirtle stood ready to create a water barrier to prevent its escape. Gengar, using its own shadowy powers, blended into the darkness, waiting for the perfect moment to act. The park, filled with the anticipation of the impending showdown, seemed to hold its breath. The moment the shadow Gengar descended to play another prank, the Jigglypuff began their melodic sing. The soothing tune wafted through the park, a serene contrast to the night's earlier chaos. The shadow Gengar, caught off guard, began to slow down, its movements becoming languid. Seizing the moment, Gengar emerged from the shadows, moving swiftly towards its double. The Squirtle unleashed a coordinated jet of water, creating a sparkling curtain that encircled the drowsy shadow. The plan, executed with precision and teamwork, worked. The shadow Gengar was trapped, its laughter finally fading into a tired yawn. But as Gengar approached to finally capture it, the shadow, in a last burst of energy, disrupted the water barrier and vanished into a puff of smoke, leaving behind a trail of echoing giggles. It had escaped again, but this time it left a clue. A playful, taunting note directed at Gengar, hinting at its next destination. Breathing heavily, Gengar and Clefairy regrouped, their spirits dampened but not defeated. The note led them to the old library at the edge of the town, a place filled with dusty tomes and forgotten stories. As they approached the library, a building as old and mysterious as the mansion itself, they knew the final confrontation was near. The library, with its labyrinth of bookshelves and ancient archives, would be the setting for their final attempt to catch the elusive shadow. The chapter closes with Gengar and Clefairy stepping into the library, its doors creaking open to reveal rows upon rows of books bathed in the soft moonlight filtering through the stained glass windows. The game of cat and mouse had reached its climax, and the night was far from over. Chapter 4: Reflection and Resolution. The old library, with its towering shelves and the scent of aged paper, felt like a world suspended in time. As Gengar and Clefairy entered, the silence was almost tangible, broken only by the soft ticking of an ancient clock. The moonlight cast a spectral glow through the stained glass windows, painting the room in a kaleidoscope of muted colors. They tread softly, their footsteps muffled by the thick carpet, as they navigated through the labyrinth of bookshelves. The library seemed to hold its breath, awaiting the impending showdown. Gengar, feeling a sense of familiarity in this realm of shadows and quiet, led the way, its senses heightened for any sign of its elusive double. The playful note from the Shadow Gengar had hinted at the old mythology section, a corner of the library where tales of legends and folklore resided. As they approached, they noticed a subtle disturbance, books slightly out of place, a faint residue of shadowy energy, the air tinged with the lingering essence of mischief. There, among the ancient tomes, they finally encountered the Shadow Gengar. It was perched atop a shelf, looking down at them with a cheeky grin, clearly enjoying the chase. But there was a sense of weariness in its eyes. The night's escapades had taken their toll. Gengar stepped forward, addressing its double in a firm yet understanding tone. "This game has gone on long enough. It's time to end this," it said. The Shadow Gengar, recognizing the resolve in its original's voice, nodded, its playful demeanor fading. Clefairy, acting as the mediator, gently coaxed the Shadow Gengar down from its perch. "You're a part of Gengar, and you've shown us a lot about ourselves tonight. But you can't keep causing chaos," Clefairy said in a soothing voice. In a moment of silent understanding, the Shadow Gengar reached out and touched Gengar. A soft, luminescent glow enveloped them, and the two beings merged, the shadow being absorbed back into Gengar. The room pulsed with a gentle wave of energy, and a sense of balance was restored. The library, once a stage for the final act of this nightly drama, returned to its peaceful state. Gengar, now whole, felt a newfound sense of completeness and self-awareness. It had confronted a part of itself, reckless and uninhibited, and understood it better now. As they left the library, the first light of dawn was breaking over the horizon. The town, still asleep, was blissfully unaware of the adventures that had transpired in its shadows. Gengar and Clefairy, walking back through the quiet streets, felt a deeper bond between them. They had faced an unusual challenge and had emerged stronger. The story concludes with Gengar and Clefairy watching the sunrise together, the events of the night now a shared memory. Gengar had learned that every part of oneself, even the mischievous shadows, has its place and must be understood and embraced. And as the sun cast its warm glow over the town, a new day began, full of possibilities and the promise of peace.